And so I was on the phone with my girlfriend, and we're like on the way back to the car, and Gabe says, "Stop walking." I'll let Gabe pick it up from there.
Yeah, I had to kind of clock this lady walking in the same exact direction as us, taking the same turns as us. But we're walking, and I was like, dude, I just feel like this lady is following us. And I just tell Bo to stop. We stop, and she takes 2 steps and then stops. And
we're on the way, joined in studio right now by my friends Bo Dittle, and Gabe. So what's up, guys?
How's it going? It's good to be back.
hello.
Since the last time we had you guys on where you covered the Franklin Tesla protest, how many protests have you been to?
Can't count. Probably 3.
No, 4, minimum 4, because there was Florida that we went to, and then D.C., and then Oklahoma, and then this past weekend and
Yesterday.
Yesterday in Kansas. Yeah.
So you guys are racking up the air miles.
Yeah.
Yes, I'm about to be A-list preferred.
Let's go. Yesterday you got violated in Kansas.
Yes, which it was actually Wednesday night, so 2 nights ago. Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
but yeah,
what was the protest there going on? What was the protest about?
it was a mix of trans protest and then Riley Gaines. Half the people just hated Riley Gaines. The other half were trans activists that had no clue who Riley Gaines was, but saw trans activists, so they were like, "We'll join."
I would think that a trans activist would know who Riley Gaines is.
I would think so too, but there has been more often than not. Even like in Oklahoma, there was people where it was just solely supposed to be a Riley Gaines protest there, and there was people who were like, "Oh, I don't even know what her story is. I just I'm pro-trans or whatever."
Really?
Yeah. There's one video that went pretty viral that Turning Point put out, and I ask a very simple question, and it's like, "What's your thoughts on Riley Gaines?" And she says, "Can you tell me that question one more time?" It was like she was buying time, because she had no clue even how to answer the question.
Yeah.
So they had no idea.
No idea.
Now, yesterday, while you were there, you're trying to cover the protest, and you get approached by police.
Yes.
What were you doing? Were you breaking the law?
No, I was not breaking the law. So it started just trying to interview protesters, and it started with Kansas University. Not
staff.
teachers,
it was
but
like,
staff. Yeah, staff. And they were like, "We need you to leave." And I said, "Well, respectfully, I can't do that. It's a public sidewalk, and I'm not doing anything wrong. You can't kick me out." And they were like, "You can be here, but you have to be on the other side of the street." I said, "Respectfully, it's a public sidewalk. If you really want to, take it to the extreme, you can bring the police, but I'm not leaving." And they're like, "Okay, we'll bring the police." 5 minutes later, the police show up. I guess the rest is history.
Well,
Yeah.
we're going to dive into the rest of that. Plus, Riley Gaines tweeted at you guys on X and said she smells like this is a lawsuit waiting to happen.
It definitely is a lawsuit. I don't know if we're going to take it to that extreme. Had I been arrested, different story.
Well, me and the rest of the audience are going to be encouraging you to cash in on this as quickly as possible.
Yeah.
And then if you do go forward, I'm gonna take some credit, and I'm gonna ask for a
10% commission.
10% commission on that.
I am protesting the Riley Gaines event because I believe that everything that Turning Point stands for is trying to bring segregation back, ban books, and do a lot of really, really terrible things, and Charlie Kirk.
What is Turning Point doing that's segregation?
Trans people are people, and there is no reason that people shouldn't be able to participate in the sports that they want, and that within itself, by definition, is segregation.
So that's Bo Dittle interviewing protesters out at the Riley Gaines event. Bo's in studio with us now, along with his cameraman, Gabe. So you're dealing with these protesters, and they think that you guys are just hate-filled.
Yeah, they think we support segregation.
Which is just insane.
Look, these protesters are not only like misled, but they like truly believe what they're saying a lot of these times. And it's insane to me to think that someone could like walk through life, go to college, which maybe not go to college because they could go to college and believe this stuff. But, like walk through life and just hear people talking, most people that you know are probably conservative. So if you genuinely believe that, like, you know, oh, conservatives are trying to, like, bring back segregation, but you've probably interacted with one every single day of your life and, like, nothing has happened, I don't know how you come to that conclusion, you know?
Well, it always seems like they move the argument. Like, our argument is protecting women. And they're like, no, you want to hurt trans people. And it's like, no, it never. Yeah. Never. That was never part of my argument.
And
right?
they go so deep. They say that we believe trans people aren't even humans. Like, for the record, just in case anyone doesn't know, we do believe trans people are humans.
Yeah.
What I don't believe is that trans men are men. Yeah. And trans women are women. No, they are biological men or biological women. And somehow off of that, they get the assumption that we just don't think that they're even people.
Yeah.
Well, one of the things that kills me is, like, I'm a Christian, and I know you guys are as well. I'm like, I think that one of the most hate-filled things I could do would be let you continue on and sin and not worry about it.
Exactly.
Like the most loving thing I can do is be like, you're off, man, and we gotta get you back on the right track.
We could talk about that for so long. That's one of my favorite arguments is we have to talk, there's a difference between love and acceptance. And true love is not accepting someone for the way that they are. I always bring up the example, you know, me and you were friends. Say I told you, hey, I'm going to go jump off a cliff. I'm very depressed. You're not going to accept that because you love me. So you're going to say, no, don't continue.
Yes, exactly.
And that there's a better way. That is what true love is. And these people don't understand it. They just see it as hate.
No, and they get very angry with you guys.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So much so that 2 days ago, Wednesday, you had the police called on you at Kansas University because you had the audacity to ask protesters a question on a public sidewalk.
At a public university, yeah.
Which is just wild. So your First Amendment rights have just been absolutely raped at that point.
Oh, 100%.
Completely violated. Sorry,
no freedom of speech, but also no freedom of press, right? Like, because that's essentially what we were doing is we had the opportunity to go and to interview these people and get their opinions, and they weren't even in, like, a publicly permitted area, right? Because prior to that video clip that's been going viral on Twitter, they were on the side that the Riley Gaines speech was going on. Like, they were on the same side of the road of the building where she was giving a speech, and the coordinators of the event asked them to cross the street. It wasn't like police that, like, moved them over and said, you guys can't be here. The coordinators of the event asked them, hey, can you guys step across the street so we don't have any, you know, like, altercations happening, any physical altercations. Totally understandable. Now, we are just media. Like, they don't even know that we were with Turning Point or with Frontlines or whatever. So when we crossed and we were just interviewing them, I guess they had sniffed Bo's, you know, white straight male conservativeness. And
they could smell your aura coming.
Oh, yeah. 100%.
No, literally. And they wanted us kicked out, though, after. So
that's wild. So, all right, the police approach you guys.
Yeah.
The cop seemed like he was a soy boy leftist. Am I okay to say that?
That's what it looked like.
Did he give off soy vibes?
What it gave off to me was I am going to enforce what people tell me. I'm not going to enforce the law and the oath that I took to become a police officer.
Because you asked him, am I breaking the law on several occasions in this viral video?
And I had him repeat multiple times. I wanted him to be as clear as possible. Lawfully am I breaking the law, not the rules that Kansas University is telling you please maintain, but lawfully. And if you watch the clip, he will say lawfully I'm breaking the law, but he didn't really want to say it because I think he knew that lawfully I wasn't, but he didn't want to basically have to do his job and, you know, make sure that things didn't get out of hand.
Yeah.
And you had gone, after the initial conversation with the police officer, you had gone to go walk back and cover the protest. Did you think that you were going to be allowed to go back there at that point?
I did because in the interview or in the clip of that, I say once more, lawfully, am I breaking any laws? And at that time, he doesn't say that I'm breaking any laws. He just says you can't be over there.
He just dodged the question.
Yeah, he dodged the question.
And as you start to walk back, he essentially does a 180 and books it back to you and pulls you back to the other side of the street.
Yeah, and he was like, I guess you didn't understand what I said. And I wanted to say, well, you didn't really answer the question. I asked you, will I be, arrested, ticketed, trespassed? and all he says is you can't be over there. There's a big difference.
There is a big difference. And so this is outside the Riley Gaines event, because Riley Gaines, obviously, she's a monster for wanting to protect women's sports. Riley Gaines has gone on record on X, and she said that this smells like a lawsuit. And I wonder what your thoughts are on that. Are you thinking about lawyering up? And if so, how much are we going to get?
Is there a lawsuit there? 100%.
Yeah.
Do I think I would win? 100%. But with that being said, no. It's too much work. It's not something that I can maintain, afford the lawyer fees. It's not worth it, in my opinion, to go through it. But if I were to, do I think that there's a lawsuit there? Absolutely.
Yeah, if Bo took legal action towards every single police officer that has like trampled over his rights, because it has happened multiple times. And, you know, I know that we're supposed to be pro-police because we're pro-law, but that's what we are. We're more pro-constitution than we are just police who like follow orders.
I think we do have to call out bad cops.
Well, exactly.
Like, and the left does it all the time. And we see even cops that didn't do anything wrong feeling that wrath.
Yeah.
But I think that as conservatives, to be fair, when you see a cop violating his oath, like, we should call him out just the same.
100%. And a lot of these police officers, what happens is they're just trying to make their lives easy because they're used to just sitting around doing nothing some days. You know, like they just, you know, are like patrolling around or whatever, and they don't want altercations to happen. When Bo was going over there, Bo clearly wasn't violent, and neither were any of these students. Like, credit where credit is due. None of these students were getting violent, were swinging at Bo. Yeah. Sure, maybe like that old lady was, you know, throwing offenses at Bo or whatever, but most of those students were pretty respectful and were just not wanting to answer questions. And when that happens, we just walk over to the next person. The officers and like the staff there were clearly the ones who were like more concerned about something going on, which I think was just total BS.
It was the staff calling the shots, not the police officers.
What do you think the percentage is? I mean, because you go to a lot of protests. You were at Hands Off in D.C. You were at the Franklin Tesla protest. You were at these two Riley Gaines events. You went to Tampa Pride. What percentage of protesters that you encounter are your just regular leftists who are peaceful and feel like they're standing up for a cause, and what percentage are the ones that you're worried about getting violent?
I would say it actually is dependent on the protest, because if you go to a protest and most of them aren't violent,
like old as hell, like at the Franklin
protest. But it's like you can know as soon as you look at the protesters if they're going to be violent. Like if one of them's violent, odds are all of them are going to be violent, and vice versa. If one of them's peaceful, odds are all of them are going to be peaceful, because they're kind of a pack. They're going to follow in the guidance of the ones around them.
If you track back the last 5 places that we've gone to, right? So if we go Florida, D.C., Oklahoma, Kansas, and Franklin, 1 in 5, so 20%, I guess, have gotten violent, which D.C. is like the hub of where most of them are, to be honest. That was like the most violent it got. We didn't get punched or anything, but like I got shoved a couple times, camera got grabbed, Bo got shoved, Bo got pushed grabbed in D.C. So like,
well, you got grabbed at that Pride event too, but it wasn't violent.
Yeah, that one. Yeah, which footage hasn't come out yet from the DC one, but it was kind of a scary moment. DC
was over the weekend.
Yeah.
So that was the hands-off protest.
Yeah.
And that one seemed like there was a lot of paid agitators in the crowd because they all got bussed in, and then when you guys got assaulted, you came back out a little while later, and
they were like gone.
It had cleared out completely.
It was crazy. I would love to have been there when they were leaving to see like the direction they were going, and maybe follow them to see, are they all hoteled in one place? Are they all going to a bus and going back to their city? You know, I would love to have known what that process was like.
Yeah.
Is that something you might do in the future?
Yeah.
Kind of tail one of those buses and see where it goes?
The only reason that we had like an issue that we had to leave was because the camera was like, tampered with, or like the wire, and we like literally couldn't get it back on. And there was also one very tall protester who would not stop covering the camera, so we had to like step aside, and there's footage coming out of that soon. But
So that was at the Hands Off in DC protest. So
they weren't very hands off though. It was more like hands on.
It was more
it
like
was
hands
very
on.
handsy. Yeah.
Where were you guys when the protesters got violent there?
Right in the middle of like
Was it
everything.
the Washington Monument?
No, it was it was the Washington Monument. It was like to the right of it, and there was like a speech going on. There was like some lady speaking.
It was so funny too because I was doing B-roll and I was like, because essentially they were just sitting. It was a massive event, but they were just sitting there and
so
talking.
boring.
It was basically like a time for leftists to meet one another. It wasn't really a protest where they were chanting. And so I was telling the camera, this is a very boring protest.
Yeah.
And then I kid you not, 10 seconds later, I interview this girl from Alabama, and we had like a really good interview because I was combating what she was saying. She had nothing to combat my combat. And then people started to see I don't agree with them. And then
he's not one of us.
All at once, they start chanting, they start screaming, they start giving the middle finger, they start shoving Gabe, they start shoving me. And then like this one guy's like, come over here. And he was like a big guy. And I'm in my pink suit, my sexy pink suit. And he grabs my suit like this. And I get, kind of confrontational. I was like, do not touch me like that.
Well, and I think that people don't know this about you, but you can fight.
Don't glaze me too hard on radio.
Bo's done boxing.
Yeah, I've done boxing. Yeah.
Bo can throw a haymaker and an uppercut and a 1-2 and lay some people out if he wanted to. But you remain mostly peaceful.
I try to, yeah.
But when somebody starts messing with the pink suit, it flares up the anger.
Yeah. I do not want a single wrinkle in that pink suit. If I see one wrinkle, it's hands on.
So he grabs your suit, and then what happens?
I very aggressively say, do not touch me again. And he continues screaming, but he doesn't touch me again. But he kept, agitating me, and he was like, get up here, because he was on a step.
Probably as tall as this table.
Yeah, probably as tall as this table, wanting me to get on his level and be face to face. And I did not want to do that because I saw, previously he was already grabbing me. I was like, I'm not going to, I don't want to be the next Savannah Craven.
No, right? Literally, yeah. You see that?
Yeah. Savannah Craven's a social media influencer who she was just asking questions. She's a pro-life influencer.
Good friend of ours, yeah.
Yeah, she was asking questions in New York. And she asked one question, and the lady that she was talking to just hauled off and just started swinging on her.
It was crazy, too, because she did it.
She got bloodied up.
Oh, yeah.
And the girl that punched her did it in the middle of a sentence. Like, Savannah asked a question, and then she, went to answer the question halfway through was like, I don't know what I'm going to say now, so I'm just going to punch you in the face.
It was probably insane. It was the most insane video that I've seen because I've never seen because that was clearly a woman that was probably some sort of, I don't know if I can use this word, a butch lesbian. Is that?
I think that's fine.
Fine. Okay. Just haymakered her, dude. Just gave her.
I know. She was gushing blood. It looked like a WWF match. Like she bladed or something. Do you guys go out there, and is that always in the back of your mind that at any point something like this is going to go volatile?
And I'll tell you something that I'm always cautious of, which is that this hasn't happened yet. Hopefully I'm not speaking it into existence. But when it gets confrontational like it did in D.C., when everyone's chanting and everyone's screaming, and then we're walking away, I'm always very cautious of the back of my head that someone's just going to sucker punch the back of my head from the back to where I can't see them. And how dangerous of a spot that is.
Yeah.
So that's something that I'm always super weary of.
It's all from experience. Bo's been punched before, so now we know we need to be wary of people punching us. We've been followed before, so now every time we walk back to a car or to an Uber spot or something like that, we're always looking behind us to make sure no one's following us. Or we'll take weird turns, just to throw people off or to find out if people are following us or not. So it's all from. We've all taught ourselves, I guess, basically over time, okay, this is an issue that has happened. How do we prevent this? So
the following us story, I don't know if we have time for it now, but the following us story happened here in Nashville, and that's a really good story.
All right, and we're doing protest stories because you guys, how many protests have you done in the last 2 months?
Too many to count.
Yeah, 2 months, probably
10,
close to it. But in the past 2 years, oh my goodness,
hundreds.
I've probably been on close to what, 500 flights or something like that.
That's an exaggeration.
No, flights like back and forth.
No, not that many.
No?
two to 300 probably.
Calm down,
My bad,
Gabe.
my bad,
Calm down.
my bad.
But before the break, you were saying that you learn as you go through these protests. And
Yes.
You don't want to get sucker punched. You don't want to get not sucker punched, just punched while you're looking at somebody. And you don't want to get followed. And you said you had a good story
Yes.
about being followed, and it actually happened here in Nashville.
It
Yes.
did, yeah.
So
What was the protest?
I couldn't even tell
I think
you.
it was an anti-Elon Musk, anti-Trump protest. It was like one of those combos.
I think it was
at the Capitol.
a 50501 protest, maybe.
Yeah.
I don't know. But regardless, we were there, and it was the event that I convinced the speaker to let me speak.
Yeah.
And so
I don't know if you've ever seen that video online, but you can find it on your X at Bo Dittle.
Dittle TV.
Dittle TV on YouTube. Dittle TV on
Twitter,
X.
on Twitter, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Bo, for some reason, they handed you the megaphone to talk to the
was-
protesters, which is one of my favorite Bo moments of
Yes.
all time.
That's definitely top 5.
Because the best was the leftist in the background screeching, "Why did you give him that megaphone? Why?"
I can't believe that they let me do it. It was definitely like one of the best memories in my protesting career. But anyways, after it was over, it was such a good story. I had to call my girlfriend and my mom to tell her what I had just done.
Yes.
Yeah.
They let me
And-
speak.
Yes. And so I was on the phone with my girlfriend, and we're like on the way back to the car, and Gabe says, "Stop walking." And, we're like best friends. So I'm getting pissed off at him. I'm like, why are we stopping walking? Like,
Yeah.
give me one good reason.
Yeah.
And he's like, just stop walking. And then when he says that, I turn around, and I see a girl who also stops walking as soon as we do. And I'll
Yeah.
let Gabe pick it up from there.
I had to kind of clock this lady walking in the same exact direction as us, taking the same turns as us for about a block because we park like far from the Capitol, right?
By design.
And I'm like, okay, this lady, she looks like she could have been there. She had a lot of plastic surgery done, like lip fillers, like very clear, like injections in the forehead, fake breasts, that kind of stuff. So
Are those red flags for leftists?
Well, I mean, not necessarily a leftist, but like she looked kind of weird, right?
Yeah.
And we're walking, and I'm pretty sure she was a lady though. She wasn't like a transsexual or anything. But we're walking, and I was like, dude, I just feel like this lady is following us, and I just tell Bo to stop. We stop, and she takes 2 steps and then stops. And I just stopped there for a second because I'm like, is she just going to walk away? Like, is she going to turn around? Because we were like right at a crosswalk. So maybe she was trying to cross the street. Nothing happens. So then I was like, can we help you? And she's like, what do you mean? And I'm like, well, you're following us. And she's like, I'm not following you. And I'm like, yes, you are. Like, you've been following us for...
Yes, but she also starts saying, so you're just a YouTuber. Because on the phone, I said that this is great for YouTube content.
Oh.
So she gives herself away because
Like, instantly.
she's telling me about my phone call.
Yeah.
And so that...
What a weirdo.
And mind you, I'm still on the phone with my girlfriend, and she's probably freaking out because I said, babe, I got to call you back. And so I hang up on her and start recording.
Yeah. And then basically, like, we have an altercation with her. After Bo pulls out his phone, she pulls out her phone and starts going,
We have dueling phones.
Yeah.
Well, and then she goes, these guys are following me. Police, they're
Yeah.
following me. Like, as if, like just victim,
Oh my gosh.
reverted straight back to victimhood. And then she walks in the other direction. And like, she was like, oh, well, I just took the wrong turn. You guys are following me, yada, yada, yada. It was like the weirdest thing where like it just went from like, she thought she was being sneaky, right? Thought she was like being good. Because here's the thing is, I'm not necessarily scared of like a 5-foot woman, but
fair.
I'm scared of, whatever 6'3" dude that works for like Antifa or whatever that gets our license plate and then like tracks where we live.
Yeah,
Has happened.
Honestly,
Which has happened.
Yeah, and I think we can also talk about the dangers of swatting on the other side. And my name is Chris Hand. The show is brought to you by Better Water LLC. Do you guys know why you need water filtration systems or water softeners? Do you have any idea?
No, why do we,
I,
Chris?
I don't
don't like them putting chemicals in the water that turn the friggin' frogs gay.
Betterwater.com.
I was going to take that so serious, too. I thought you were going to give me a scientific answer.
We love Alex Jones. Alex Jones is an American patriot.
Listen,
Great guy.
the younger you get, the more people like Alex Jones.
Oh, yeah.
100%. I grew up with Alex Jones. Yeah. I remember being in high school, going to InfoWars on my school computers and looking up stuff. But your generation especially doesn't seem to have any issue with them.
No. InfoWars is what got me started in politics. If it wasn't for Owen Troyer, I wouldn't be here.
Do you know how many people I have on the show that feel the exact same way? Yeah. Like Savannah Hernandez, she's on all the time, and she's a fantastic investigative journalist. I know you guys work with her at Frontlines, but she got her start over at InfoWars.
Yeah.
Like his fingerprints are on a lot of
people.
Yeah, it's crazy.
I mean, like he was at the People's Convention in Detroit last year.
Yeah,
the amount of love he got from Turning Point alone, like Turning Point attendees, was arguably just as much as some of the mainstream stars.
I would argue that after the 2020 election as well, like the amount of just regular people that like Alex Jones, like the people who are just like, yeah, Alex Jones was right about this, and that. Like everyone agrees unanimously almost that like Alex Jones is basically right about 99% of things that he used to be called crazy over. Because I remember like right when I got into politics, I asked my stepdad, who's Alex Jones? And this was like, what, 2019, 2020?
Yeah.
And he was like, oh, you know, he's like a little far right, like kind of crazy conspiracy theorist guy. But now, like, if I were to ask him, he'd be like, yep, Alex Jones is right about everything. So,
why do you think it is that, like, the older you get, though, if you're talking to individuals, like, it seems like you talk to guys that are a little bit older, you know, late 40s, early 50s, 60s, that they look at Alex Jones and they just can't even, like, especially on the conservative side alone. I understand why the left doesn't like him. But on the conservative side, a lot of, like, the older conservatives treat him like a pariah.
Well, I don't know if you have a...
I don't really have a good answer. I would just say that the boomer generation, no disrespect to anyone's listening,
He's not a
aren't... No, didn't say was. Aren't as based as Gen Z conservatives.
Yeah, I'd argue that a lot of it is like... I don't want to call it like World War II nostalgia or whatever, but a lot of basically generations will be stuck in the idea that America is the way that it's always been. So like a lot of people like from the World War II era still think that like Russia is like the biggest problem to America, which I don't think so. Personally, I think China's worse. But then like you go late to the younger generations and they're like, oh, well, mainstream media is right about everything. Like, you know, you could talk about whatever conspiracy theory you want. They still believe that the government was telling the truth about everything and that Alex Jones is a crazy nut, which isn't the case. I think with our generation, I don't know what that will be. I don't know what our nostalgia will be, but
it'll be COVID.
It'll be COVID.
It'll be COVID.
So it'll be something like that. Yeah, probably.
Speaking of generational gap, the tariffs with China, I'd love to get you guys' take on this because I talked to a lot of, you know, varying ages, but it seems like the older you get, the more nervous you are about the tariffs and about the stock market. And I understand the anxiety if you're cashing out on your 401k. Yeah. But for like guys your age and in your age group, in like their early 20s, what do you think about the China stuff? What do you think about the tariffs and the trade war?
I'm a big fan of tariffs. I think short term, it is scary. You know, coming from someone that is in crypto, I saw the effects same day. You know, it is scary to see the numbers go down, but it's short-term pain for long-term gain.
Yeah.
So looking long-term, we have to become a worldwide dominant factor. That we aren't, you know, especially under Joe Biden, and we're trying to get that back. In order to do so, we have to take some of these, not necessarily risks, but I'll say the word risks, which is what Trump's doing. And they're working.
Look, I would just argue, I guess, two things, right? One, if you're concerned right now, read The Art of the Deal. Like, just, there's a book on it. Like, literally, Trump read a book. Just read The Art of the Deal, okay? Like, you'll be chill at least for the next 6 months. Like, if you just read that book, you'll be calm. Secondly, I think from our Gen Z's perspective, like, hey, it was like how he was talking about, we, I guess, are maybe a little more risky. We are a little more, maybe some may say, degenerate. just buy more.
Yeah,
Like, just buy more. Just buy more stocks. Buy more, crypto. Do whatever. Buy the dip. Like, maybe a lot of people think we're crazy. They're like, oh, well, we don't have the money. Dude, yes, you do. You probably spent $5 on a coffee today. Put it in Bitcoin. You probably spent $10. Yeah, I was going to say, you probably spent like $10 on a cheeseburger last night when you could have just cooked food at home. Put $10 in NVIDIA or something like that. Like, all these things, buy the dip. Like, you will see it pay off within the next probably 2 years significantly, like, as opposed to the people who are just scared right now and are like selling, like literally panic selling because they don't want their money to go down.
Trump said it himself. Now is a great time to buy.
Yeah,
he did.
Yeah.
If only we had listened. I didn't listen.
I listened.
You listened?
I listened.
Did you listen?
not yet. I mean, I don't know. I still think that we have a lot to go.
You're on the fence whether or not you want to listen or not.
I have bills to pay as well, but
I mean, you guys are Gen Z. What are what are the biggest news stories that Gen Zers are focused on? Is it the trade war with China? Is it tariffs, or is Gen Z kind of like meh?
I think it's different depending on like if you're a liberal, a conservative, or you don't care about politics.
It's very subjective on what do you care about. For me personally, I'm entertaining tariffs because that's arguably the biggest one in the news, but personally, I don't think that it's that big of a news story. He's president. He's going to do what's best for America. He's putting in place tariffs. Yeah. End of story. I don't see the big factor.
Yeah, I think it's a fun thing to talk about, especially like with liberals right now, because they were the people saying that Joe Biden was president, so he has no effect on the economy for 4 years. And the first thing that Trump does is like put in tariffs, and then they're like, oh my God, Trump is destroying the economy. I think it's hilarious. I think it's crazy.
Well, they did spend 3 weeks saying that he hasn't brought down the price of eggs, and then when that fell, they had to quickly abandon that.
Yeah, because gas is down, eggs are down, like literally everything is down.
My favorite meme, this can be the meme of the day. I wish people could see it. Shout out Emma Mitchum. I actually learned she works for Turning Point. I didn't even know that. But anyways, she put on Instagram.
It's a big company.
Yeah. She put on Instagram a meme, and it was the stock market. And it was Joe Biden's presidency with the stock market super low. And under it said, liberals happy. Yep. And then Trump, it went straight up, and then it's dipping a little bit right now, but it's still way up from where Biden was in. And then under it says, like, liberals panic.
Yeah.
It's just hilarious because it's like they're trying so hard to get talking points, but they know deep down they have no talking points because everything Trump's doing is helping the economy. And even though it's dipping right now, long term, that's not what it's going to look like.
And have you seen any mainstream media outlet reporting on the fact that crude oil is below $60 a barrel for the first time in, was it like 4 years?
Yeah, zero.
And energy is going to ripple through the economy faster than anything else. Is Gen Z more conservative or more liberal?
Definitely more conservative.
I think more conservative. And
because a lot of people were worried about you guys. We were worried about you guys for a while there.
Of course.
I was too.
But it flip-flops.
It does flip-flop. I think, I know I'm biased saying this, but I genuinely do believe Turning Point has a major factor in Gen Z.
Oh, I agree with that.
Pushing out college campus content. I mean, did you see Purdue yesterday?
It was insane.
There wasn't an empty spot.
So Topher was there. Topher's been on the show a bunch. Yeah. He was interviewing a protester.
He got thrown water.
And he had water thrown in his face. And Topher, I don't know about you guys, like, Bo, I would fight Bo. I wouldn't fight Topher.
Topher, look, honestly,
it's because he's black.
Well, no, listen, Topher is like so calm, but he also like is ripped.
No,
like that's the thing is he's jacked.
He looks like he could sneeze and his t-shirt would rip.
Yeah.
And he used to be a big guy, not in a good way.
Yeah.
Now
he used to be
jacked.
chubby.
Yeah. I would never. And he's got this calm coolness about him. It's like at any moment I could absolutely snap and take you out.
And I loved his reaction. Did you see his reaction? He just starts wiping it off like it's just sweat.
Yeah, if you want to see that video, it's on my X account at Chris Hand on Air. I retweeted it. It's wild. What does Gen Z think about the left currently?
Dude, so here's the thing.
Do they like Jasmine Crockett? Is AOC is Gen Z excited about these people?
I don't think so. Like the thing is if you look at even just the 2024 election, right? Like Kamala Harris needed to bring on every single celebrity possible. and people still don't care, right? Like, they don't care about the left. And I think on the right, you could even argue that we don't really necessarily care about obscure politicians unless you're actually into politics. Like, most people just like Trump. Like, they just think he's the guy. And right now, which I'm very happy about because I'm a big JD Vance enthusiast.
Yep.
You know,
Vance 2028.
I love Vance. A lot of people have been getting that face recognition with Vance with all the memes, and I think that has brought Vance coin up all the way. You know, he's doing great. But yeah, I mean, like, I would say that most Gen Z is probably conservative, or at least conservative adjacent. Maybe some are like pro-choice or whatever. But when it comes down to it, like, most of them are against illegal immigration. Most of them understand the economy, you know. So I would say they're probably mostly conservative.
Yeah, no, I would agree. And I would say that Gen Z, one of the biggest differences in our generation is we don't care about mainstream figures anymore. We're attached to our phones, which is good and bad. But 10, 20 years from now, it's going to be public figures. It's going to be influencers that are today's Justin Timberlake and Justin Bieber and Kim Kardashian. And I think this last election showed where Kamala Harris is spending millions and millions on these mainstream celebrities that used to be super relevant. I just don't think they're relevant anymore.
Yeah, they won't care anymore.
I think Gen Z, what they care about now is influencers. And so it's going to come down to who's winning the influencer game. And 2024, conservatives won that in a landslide.
Long shot. Like,
100%.
You have the Paul brothers. You have the Nelk boys. You have every single gambling influencer. You have Charlie Kirk. You have every single, like, troll influencer. You have, like, literally every fitness influencer. All these guys are, like, pro-Trump.
Does a guy like Stephen A. Smith make you nervous if he becomes the candidate for the Democrats in 2028?
I don't think he will.
You don't think so? See, I think he is the outsider to the Democrats that Trump was to the Republicans. And I think that the scariest part about a presidency like that is who would be running it from behind the scenes. So I could see the machine getting behind it. But
you'd have to, like, rely on Trump doing bad enough for people not to want to vote for JD Vance, like moderates, because people in the middle, like, win elections, right? Well, suburban women, white women win elections, technically speaking, if you look at the numbers, right? But, like, centrists, like, win elections, right? Like, who are they swayed towards? And if Trump and Vance do such a bad job, which I don't think they will, then maybe. But, like, they're going to do great. And I think Vance will win, like, in another landslide, to be honest.
See, I see the opposite. I see, well, not the opposite of what he said, but what you said. I think Stephen A. Smith, I mean, he already came out and said Brandon Tatum kind of opened his eyes a lot. And so I almost see Stephen A. Smith being a good factor for the Republican Party, because I think he's going to continue to go more further right, and he'll be the next person that slides over.
I totally disagree with that.
And to go further, though, you know the Democratic Party is as corrupt as they get. If it's not someone that's in their little Bermuda Triangle, you know what I mean? If it's not someone that's really tied in there, then they're not going to get See,
I think that they could
support.
look at Stephen A. Smith, though, and realize we could run everything behind the scenes like we did with Biden.
Stephen A. Smith wouldn't let that happen.
But he might. Trump wasn't going to let that happen. He had a lot of dealing with a lot of the behind-the-scenes stuff in 2016, too, you know, in that first term.
Fair.
I just think with Smith, the way Trump came in 2015 was like the Iraq war was a mistake. I think Smith can do the exact same thing with the Democrat Party. Boys and girls sports is a mistake. And it's one of those things that the party's not allowed to say. I know Gavin Newsom's kind of coming out on that now, but I think that you could be that outsider.
I just don't see it. I see Gavin Newsom having a lot of traction coming up. I think he has a lot more chance than Stephen A. Smith does. I think Stephen A. Smith is going to be a good factor for the Republicans in 2028.
Personally, I don't think it would be either of them. I think it's going to be someone that we don't find out until, like, after midterms.
Yeah, it could be another.
I genuinely believe that after the midterms is when we'll find out, like, who the next person that we could actually realistically see
Pete
running.
Buttigieg.
Mayor Pete? I don't think so.
I don't know about Pete.
The thing about Pete is he's too short. He's way too short.
Before.
And in the TV era, the taller candidate wins like 96% of the time, 97% of the time. Pete's a little guy.
I just think that the Democrats have a thing for weak candidates that they know they can control. Pete is,
and that's my point on Stephen A. though.
No, he's not weak, and I don't think they can control him.
But I think he's very surface level. I think he's a character. I think he plays his character very, very well, but I think he could be manipulated behind the scenes.
Time will tell.
We'll find out.
I disagree, for the record.
I didn't plan to end this interview on a disagreeing note. I thought we were gonna
fight after this.
I thought we were gonna have a good time. I will fight Bo. But I appreciate you guys coming in as always. Bo and Gabe, where can we find you guys online?
Bo Dittle on YouTube
and
Instagram.
with 2
Dittle
Ts.
TV on X. If you want to find me, just go to his stuff.
He's usually behind the camera.
This is my work. This is my best work. Okay.